Welcome into Cleveland Browns Daily. Nathan Zegura and Jason Gibbs with you today. Beau Bishop is on vacation, and Gibby, it's Wednesday, which means we need to already turn the clock, but my clock is so thrown off by that game being Monday evening, and then it's Wednesday already. We got a game on Saturday coming up. It's coming at us fast, and let me tell you something. I'm going through this Green Bay Packers media guy this morning. Don't love a lot of the things I'm reading. They're pretty good at football, it turns out.
Yeah. Especially in the regular season.
And especially at Lambeau Field where this game takes place. But what I would say, folks, to give you some hope is that 31 teams in the National Football League out of 32 have already lost a home game this year. The one that has not, the Green Bay Packers. They did lose one at home last year. So why not this Saturday for the Cleveland Browns? And some news right away for the Browns. They have activated tight end Austin Hooper and linebacker Jacob Phillips from the reserve COVID-19 list. They have placed cornerback Greg Newsome on the reserve COVID-19 list. You would have loved to have him back for this game against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And maybe perhaps there's still time, but right now probably seems unlikely. They have waived from the reserve COVID-19 list the Scottish Hammer, Jamie Gillan. And the Hammer, that one hurts personally. You know, you thought Cole could never be replaced, and he cannot be. And then the Hammer came in, and he elevated himself right into the legend, the annals of CBD history as one of the all-time great guests and great guys. And ironically, he has been replaced by a Cole, but a different Cole, same but different. It's just kind of crazy, but we certainly wish the Hammer the absolute best, a tremendous guy. Great to be around, a fun guy, free spirit, and just somebody with a lot of talent inside his bones. And I hope that he gets another opportunity in this league because I think that he has a chance to play for a long time, and I know how much he loves it. And so he loves Cleveland. It's obviously a bummer there, but that's part of the personal nature of a business that is a business. And so we wish Jamie the best, certainly, and he'll always have a soft spot in our hearts for the Hammer. And also JoJo Natson restored to the practice squad from the COVID-19 list, so you'd expect him to probably be up handling some of the return duties this week for the Browns. In addition, head coach Kevin Stefanski has cleared COVID-19 protocols and has returned to Cross Country Mortgage campus. Was able to talk with him earlier today from his office here, so that's great to see him back and getting this staff back and focused on what is a must-win game. I know we've been talking with hyperbole. The playoffs have started for weeks, and while it felt like they have, it wasn't truly lose and your season is over. But in this case, it is lose and your season is most likely over. You need a lot of help in a lot of scenarios to unfold. You got to get to 10-7, I think.
You can get to 10-7. There's a path.
Win every game that's left.
Got to win.
There's one path.
There's one path, but there's still a path.
But it is there.
There's still a path, kids.
It is clearly defined. By the way, 3 weeks left, and yet 27 teams still in it. Only 5 have been eliminated from playoff contention.
That's insane, by the way.
It is insane. It's without precedent. I believe it is unprecedented that this late, this many teams are still alive, or at least it's been a long time since.
I feel like this weekend we're gonna start seeing them fall off in chunks.
Yeah, it could be some separation.
You got some 4 and
Saturday.
10s, you got some 5 and 9s, and I feel like those are gonna start going by the wayside.
We're hobbling emotionally. We're hobbling
on.
physically. Luminaries hobbling around. This is not where we're supposed to be here right now, but it is where we are, and we've got to fight our way out of it, frankly, and that's what the Browns are tasked with, and that's what they must do. You had 2 games last night, a little Tuesday football. I turned it on briefly, and so I saw so many complaints. Why are both of these games not on? And the reason is because of the movement of the games of Tuesday. Fox couldn't benefit from having to go 2 separate games. That's why they weren't staggered. They had to play them at the same time. I think 2/3 of the country got a very boring Seahawks-Rams game, and a third of the country got the football team, a depleted football team in the Eagles.
I looked it up because I was like, where's the other game? I thought maybe like NFL Network would pick it up, something along those lines. I looked up the map, the coverage map.
Yeah.
It's like basically a third of the country was all in blue for Rams Seahawks.
Yeah.
And then there was a pocket around St. Louis, Green Bay, Detroit, and just Cleveland. Cincinnati and Columbus had Washington, Philly. literally there's like a little sliver in 4 different parts of the country that weren't from like Denver West.
Yeah.
That had Rams Seahawks.
Interesting.
Because we had Rams Seahawks.
We did. Yeah. Which was the better of the 2 games. The Seahawks are broken.
They were both not great.
The Seahawks are broken. Russ needs to get out of there. They're broken. I don't know why, but they are very, very, very broken. The Rams, nothing pretty, solid effort from them, and they got the job done. But yeah, those weren't great games. But it is. I mean, tonight you're not going to have a game tonight. Then you'll have a game Thursday, Niners Titans, and then nothing Friday, and then us in the Pack on Saturday. For this, as we get it into now Week 16, which is hard to believe. Here we are in Week 16. Also, the Colts and Cardinals. That's a pretty good one, Christmas night in the slate.
I think people forget that it's a doubleheader Saturday night again.
Wild,
and that's a big. That's a must win for Arizona.
They're going to get in the playoffs, but
but they
want to win that game.
Take a pretty dramatic fall.
Yeah. I mean, all these games. The Titans-Niners game is a big game. Our game is, I mean, for us, absolutely massive. And then the Colts-Cardinals. Cardinals 1-point favorite. Browns 7-point dogs. And the Niners 3.5-point favorites on the road in those games, the early week games. Yeah, wasn't able to tune in. Again, like I said, this whole week has been thrown off for me.
Yeah, well, and we call today a first Friday. Well, tomorrow is our Friday.
For the Cleveland Browns.
There's no show on Christmas Eve.
That's right. Tomorrow is our Friday.
We only had 3 CBD shows this week.
Right. We had because I was doing the preview show with Kenneth.
We got a preview show. We got Stefanski's show. We're trying to tape before we leave for Green Bay on Friday.
Yes, it has certainly been a little wild in terms of this week and the way that it's all unfolded. By the way, I'll just say I enjoyed a Monday night 5:00 game, even though because it's the time of the year where 5:00 is pitch black. My body wasn't able to comprehend that it wasn't just a true night game. And at one point I started to feel pretty tired. And I'm like, wait a second, what are you doing at 7:00? Like, you're fine.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I am fine. It is good. So,
yeah. I mean, I think I left the stadium at 9:15. And I'm like, it's weird, but I'm okay with that. 9:15, it's not awful.
No, not bad. Not bad at all. But those Tuesday games, yeah, I caught, like I said, a little bit of it. The Seahawks are broken. Russ is going to be, I think, probably, you've got pending litigation, civil certainly, with Deshaun Watson that needs to be cleared up before you can discuss him as a hot commodity in the offseason. But I think Russ, of the guys that I feel like is guaranteed to be on the move.
What about Rodgers?
Rodgers is the other one, but I don't get it. I don't understand why So when we were going through some of those stats, and some of them are not great, if you're looking for reasons for optimism with this football team. But over the last 3 years, 11 teams have started 11-3 or better to start a season. The Packers are the only team that's done it twice, and yet they've done it 3 times. They've done it every single year of the last 3 seasons. They've been 11-3 at one point. I mean, what more do you want?
And now they figured out their defense.
Yeah, their D is playing very, very well. They're a darn good team, is what they are.
Going back to Russ, is Russ broken? Is the system he's playing in broken?
I just think it's
is
broken.
Is that a buyer beware becoming? Because he did not look good last night.
He hasn't looked good since he's come back from the finger injury. And he rushed himself back, and he was dreadful. I mean,
I watched the game last night. I watched the entire second half, and I was like,
He torpedoed my sweet wife's fantasy season. She's very sad about it.
You know who has won people's fantasy seasons?
Who?
Cooper Kupp.
That's right.
Can we talk about the numbers he is putting up and what he's doing? And yet, no defense seems to be able to stop it.
No, he's on pace to beat a couple of the best seasons. Like if you cherry pick Calvin Johnson's most catches for Matt Stafford, his most yards for Matt Stafford, most touchdowns, he's on. Yeah, he's ridiculous in the family league, which is, again, let me say, it's not highly competitive with Kayla's family.
Prize at the end.
Well, they're competitive about it. I have Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp on that team, and they are not pleased. They've called for me to be banned from the league because I am just I won this round. It's an ESPN league, so it's 2 weeks, and I'm up like 120 after the first week. So I got that going for me, which is nice. But no, Cooper Kupp is simply he's spectacular. And last night in a game where Stafford threw, I think, for 244, I want to say off the top of my head, in that one, and Cooper Kupp was the vast majority of it. He was both touchdowns in the game.
Here's the thing. Like, it was a close game. Like, it was – the Seahawks were actually up, I think, 10-3. And then L.A. just turned it up. And
yeah, Stafford got that touchdown late, 10-10 in the third quarter. It was 10-3 in the third quarter. The Rams passed on kicking a 50-yard field goal at the end of the first quarter, or the end of the first half, after Gay had already made a 55-yarder. And they could have taken that lead in the half. They did not. They're down 10-3 at that point in the third quarter. And then Stafford to Kupp, field goal at the end. Good night, Irene. That was it, 20-10. But Kupp had 136 of their 244 yards passing.
Yeah.
And both touchdowns.
If Sony Michel can play like this in the postseason, like, they found their running game all of a sudden. And
Sony Michel's best stretch of his career was in the playoffs with the Patriots when he averaged over 100 yards a game. And so he's got some playoff success. He's fresh-legged. I mean, they haven't used him much this season. So, yeah, I wouldn't. The Rams are tough. The Rams are a tough football team. That's a good team.
I'd almost put them ahead of Cliff and company down in Arizona.
Definitely. I would.
I think Cliff is going to torpedo their season.
I absolutely would.
The 49ers going to catch
They could. They're two back. If they win on Thursday night, they'll be right there with those Cardinals. Yeah, the NFC West is getting interesting. There's a lot of good teams over there. We'll do a little better or worse coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll go through that because I'm guessing take Seattle out of it, but you've probably got 3 of the top 11 teams in the NFC West. If the Niners are 11th, I haven't looked where the Cardinals are, but I imagine they're still a little bit ahead of the 49ers at this point. Browns-Packers, though, Gibbe. Browns-Packers. Speaking of, we will meet these Packers when we return. This is a darn good football team. Still to come, though, we have got better or worse at 1:30, bottom of this hour. Then at 2 o'clock, Kevin Stefanski live via Zoom. First press conference since he's been back in the building. 2:20, we're going to hear from the podium, Brown Center, J.C. Treader. 2:30, Bernie Kosar live via the phone joins us to recap Monday's game and preview the game in Green Bay. And then we'll have, I'm sure, so much more to come. We'll wrap it up and get on our way here for this first Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. OBM, Ohio Business Machines, is the preferred copier provider of the Cleveland Browns with all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. All right, let's meet the Green Bay Packers, who currently sit at 11-3 with the best record in the National Football League. And, folks, it's not hard to figure out who the straw that stirs the drink is for this franchise. It is, of course, their quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers on the season, 299 of 441, 3,487 yards on the season, 68% completions, 8 yards per attempt, 30 touchdowns, 4 picks, 30 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, quarterback rating of 110.
I think he can be better.
Yeah, it feels like he's really struggling there.
Really?
Yeah, get it together, Rodgers, would you? Aaron Jones on the season is their leading rusher. He's got 657 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4.4 yards a carry. A.J. Dillon has 636 yards, 3 touchdowns. They've split carries 151 and 150, kind of a two-headed monster. Jones has missed some time as well due to injury. Their leading receiver, Devontae Adams, 96 catches, 1,248 yards, 8 touchdowns already on the season. And how about this? Aaron Jones, the running back, he's second on the team with 42 catches. He has 340 yards and 6 touchdowns receiving. And this is one of the things that I love about the dope sheet. By the way, that's what they call their notes. The notes called the dope sheet, and it goes back to the yesteryear. There's a copy of an old dope sheet that's one of the first, Packers news and notes from it looks like from the 1930s. And speaking of the 30s, Aaron Jones' 6 receiving touchdowns this season are the most by a Green Bay running back since Johnny Blood McNally, who had 11 in 1931.
I should look up how he got the nickname.
Give me I need a picture. I need a backstory on Johnny Blood McNally. This guy sounds like an absolute legend. And
Johnny Blood McNally?
Johnny Blood McNally, running back for the Packers, had 11 receiving touchdowns as a running back in 1931. Jones is 6th this year, the most since that time. They get Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 427 yards, 17.1 a catch, but he went on the COVID reserve list earlier this week. They also have Alan Lazard. He's got 321 and 4 on the season. Randall Cobb, he's on IR, though. He's got 375 and 5 on the season. They've lost Bob Tonyan. They've got a couple of tight ends, Mercedes Lewis, who's a first-round pick that's been in the league for 100 years, and Josiah DeGuara, who's got 18 catches for 163. He's been playing tight end for them. Now, not only are they good on offense, and when I say that they're good on offense, this is what I mean by that. They are they're just a darn good offense. They score the football. Now, they're the number 14 offense in terms of points on the season, 25.6, 13 in yards per game, 9th passing. They are the 10th scoring defense, 8th total defense, 11th against the rush, 9th against the pass. Their turnover differential plus 12 on the season. That's tied for 2nd in the National Football League. They've got guys who can get after the quarterback, the Smiths, although I don't think we'll see Za'Darius. They have guys who can take the football away from you. They're just a darn good, complete football team, and they're 3-0 already against the AFC North, so this is a real opportunity to do something nobody else in your division has done. They've got 11 wins on the season. This is their 10th season with 10 or more wins since 2009, trailing only the New England Patriots, who have 11 during that span. Guys, they're good. They're good. 37-9 since Matt LaFleur became the head coach. 37-9. They're 29-0 under LaFleur when they win the turnover battle. 29-0 when they win the turnover battle. They're good. Rodgers is great. You talked about how elite he has been this season. He's been spectacular. He's got the highest passer rating at home in NFL history. In his last 14 regular season home starts, 38 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. By the way, remember I said that the Packers were 29-0 under LaFleur when they win the turnover battle?
Yeah.
They've won the turnover battle in 10 straight games at Lambeau Field.
Oh, that sounds about right. Fantastic.
They're averaging 31 points per game at home this season. That's second most in the NFL. They've gotten real hot, though, since Week 11. Since Week 11, they are averaging 36 points a game and 413 yards of offense per game. They have had exactly 1 giveaway in those 5 weeks, which is the fewest in the NFL. They're good in the red zone, too. 70.6 touchdown rate, fifth in the NFL. By the way, the Browns, since week 11, 100% red zone touchdown rate. Best in the NFL. Can't get any higher.
Their defense is better, vastly improved.
But
you can still score on them.
You can. Yes, you can. They've got Devondre Campbell, who's been good for them. They are banged up. Jair Alexander, you probably wouldn't expect him to play in this game. I think Zadarius Smith is the one who's also out for them.
I would think they would hold them out another week. That's just
and Bakhtiari is still out, as he has been their great tackle. So, yes, you can score on them. If we look at their last few games, they've given up at least 28 points in 4 straight games. Now, they have scored 31, 36, 45, and 31. So they've put up 34 straight games. We know scoring's been our we've struggled. But the Vikings put up 34 on them. The Rams 28 on them. The Bears 30, and Huntley leading the Ravens 30 last week. So they have given up points. You are correct about that, Gibbe. We're going to have to score to beat them. I mean, we're going to have to score to beat this football team. Bottom line, end of story. It's got to get into the 20s, and you probably think you got to get into 30s to have a chance to beat what the Green Bay Packers are doing. So, yes, their defense is better, but it is missing some key components. Jair Alexander, who is their best defensive back, their best corner, he will not be out there. And then, Zadarius Smith has basically missed, the whole season for them? So when you think about what they could be at full strength, they have been. Now, Adrian Amos has played very well for them on the back end. Campbell's played well. Darnell Savage, the safety, who made the great play. He's played well. Rashawn Gary has done great, the former Michigan product, 6.5 sacks on the season. You got Preston Smith on the other side, 7 sacks. Kenny Clark, one of the better interior defensive linemen in the league. He's having a nice year as well. So you've got to get after this football team. You're going to have to put points on the board, and you got to take care of the football. They themselves, in terms of turnovers, that's not what they do. They don't turn the football over very often. And they haven't turned it over, multiple times in weeks. Now, we've taken it away multiple times, 4 in a row. They haven't thrown an interception in their last 4 games. They have 1 lost fumble in their last 4. They have 1 giveaway in their last 4 games. And then defensively, they've done a good job taking the football away. They've got 6 takeaways in their last 4. They're plus 12, as I said, on the season, second most in the league. They're a team that gets out to a fast start. They know how to get after. They know how to score the football early. 173 points in the first half of games this year. So you've got to come ready to play. That's more than – they're good. This is a good team. This is not an easy test for the Cleveland Browns. But as I said, if you look at it, they have struggled to stop people. Our defense has been good. The question is going to be, who's playing defense for the Cleveland Browns? That, to me, is probably the biggest question that you have going into this week. Who plays quarterback? Yes, obviously that is critical. But who's playing defense for you trying to stop Aaron Rodgers? Because, Miles, we don't know the status of him. If Miles can play, I would assume he's not 100%. We don't know if Clowney will be back. Clowney was placed on the COVID list, I believe, Sunday. He was one of the last ones added.
Yeah, it was Sunday. Because it was back and forth. I think there was.
And you don't have Tack McKinley. So you could be going into this game with your starting defensive ends being Porter Gustin and Joe Jackson and Curtis Weaver being your third defensive end against a quarterback that if you just let him sit back there, he's going to absolutely pick you apart.
Can either of the Maliks go outside if need be?
No, I mean, not really.
Okay.
No.
I know, like, Sheldon last year had that.
Sheldon Day, you might. Well, Sheldon Richardson last year, but Sheldon Day, you might. He lined up outside in some of the preseason games this year. He's been a good pass rusher, but, I mean, you're talking about Miles and Clowney. It doesn't matter who you put out there. It's going to be a downgrade. So that's going to be very important for this team to figure out if they can get, what can they do to get after Aaron Rodgers and try to disrupt him. I mean, this is.
Look,
they can throw it, they
face
can
a
run it.
Team the rest of the way.
Yeah, a lot of people think they right now are the best team in the NFL. We're going to do a little higher or lower. We'll see where they check in on that list right now. But they're probably number 1 would be my guess.
There you go.
Yeah,
you don't have to go far.
They're probably 1. Kansas City probably right now checks in at 2 would be my guess.
I like it. Little David and Goliath.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Listen, our backs are against the wall. We have.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
It wasn't. We have everything. The season is. We don't win this game. It's not good. We're not in a good spot. And so we need to be able to find a way. We tried to find a way last week. I love that effort. The more I'm removed from it, the more I like that effort even better. But it didn't produce the result that I felt that it deserved. You didn't get that result, and that one stung. I had no need to revisit yesterday. If you want a monologue on that of passion and emotion and hope and despair all wrapped into one, listen to the beginning of yesterday's show. I'm over it now. I've had my therapy.
They're going to get guys back. They got a couple today. Everybody, those guys basically had a bye week.
Yeah.
So we're a little more rested potentially. Come on, find the positive.
We got to get our safeties back.
Yep.
We got to get Delpit. We got to get Ronnie back. You don't know the status of John Johnson yet. Greg Newsome would have been a big one. You'd love to get Troy Hill back because that would, even if John Johnson doesn't play, that let you do some of your dime stuff because of the way MJ Stewart played. Now, Javonte Moffitt played well enough. They may think that, okay, we can do it with him. But dime defense, and that's one of the things you heard Kevin Stefanski talk about, that has been our most successful defensive package of the year, and that is what we would have been playing at the end of that game against the Raiders, and unfortunately we were not able to get into our dime packages there. Hopefully we can there. Up front, that's a big deal. You hope you have Jed back. Your offensive line should go back to at least the best version of itself possible right now with Jack Conklin out. We don't know about Kareem or Troy Hill because, remember, Kareem and Troy Hill are both on the COVID list, but they were also both injured coming out of that game, and their availability, they weren't going to be available COVID or not. So we don't know if they'll be ready to go coming back. But you need to be at full strength as much as you can be, and you're going to have to play a perfect game. I just said it. You lose the turnover battle, you lose the game. They're 29-0 under Matt LaFleur when they've won the turnover battle. 29-0. 29 games with a positive turnover differential since 19, or second most in team history over a 3-season span. Oh, they're also most in the NFL. They're 33-1 when forcing at least one turnover. Just forcing a turnover, they're 33-1. Regardless of what they do. 33-1. So we've got to get after them. We've got to play clean football. We're going to have to play one of our best games. So here it is. Here's the origins of the dope sheet, by the way, Gibby. I just found it.
That's fine. And then I'm going to tell you about Johnny Blood because it's pretty spectacular.
Oh, God, I can't wait. It's got to be amazing. All right. 2 years after he co-founded the Packers with Curly Lambeau, George Calhoun began writing a piece called The Dope Sheet, which served as the official press release from 1921 to 1924. And so that's what they're continuing here today, honoring the 100-year anniversary, obviously, being 2021, I'm guessing, of the Dope Sheet, which is why that's what this press release is called. Back to Johnny Blood McNally for those joining the show now. Johnny Blood McNally was a running back for the Packers, 1931, had 11 receiving touchdowns as a running back. Aaron Jones this year has 6, the most since Mr. Blood McNally. Gibbe, who is this enigma?
I can tell you this. The first ever class in the Pro Football Hall of Fame,
Johnny Blood McNally. Okay.
First class in the Packer Hall of Fame, him.
Johnny Blood McNally. Great all-time name.
Well, I mean, so Blood used his given name throughout his life outside pro football, John McNally. But he was strictly Johnny Blood as a pro football player. He adopted the name Blood to protect his remaining college eligibility while playing for the East 26th Street Liberties, a Minneapolis semi-pro team. He said the idea for the name came from a movie marquee that was showing the film Blood and Sand.
Johnny Blood.
Thereafter and throughout his career with the Packers, he never used the names Blood and McNally together.
Interesting. And in the release, it has
Nor did
both
the name
of them.
McNally ever appear in any official Packers publication.
He was always Johnny Blood.
Yeah.
Did he go into the Hall of Fame as Johnny Blood?
I don't know.
That is interesting. Well, he's in this as Johnny Blood McNally, so maybe after the fact, that's what they've given him.
Four-time NFL champion, NFL All-Third 1930s All-Decade Team, Packer Hall of Fame, Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Honor, Pro Football Hall of Fame in the inaugural year, enlisted and went into the military after Pearl Harbor, and then came back to play. Yeah.
That's like 15 years later after 1931.
It's pretty spectacular.
Wow. Great name. See? Thank you for the dope sheet to give us those fun nuggets. Then we can produce a whole segment. We get a little Johnny
the
Blood
dope sheet, which just makes me laugh.
It's just
every time you
amazing.
say it.
It's great. I mean, it says it right on there.
It says it on every page.
It's hard to miss it. Hard to miss it. Speaking of not missing, that could come in handy for you. You could score Cleveland Browns season tickets from Sugardale and your local Meijer, plus the chance to kick a field goal. And if you make it, to score 10 seasons worth of season tickets during a Browns game. I can't wait for this one. I feel like that's going to be the most electric halftime that we've had.
Do you MC that? Are you?
I hope
MCing
so.
that?
I want to. Carlos, if you're listening, I want to MC this field goal attempt for 10 seasons worth of season tickets. Kicking a field goal, by the way, folks, not easy. Not easy for the professionals.
Which direction are you going?
Got to go away from the dog pound. Give the kid a chance. But did you see the footage from Carolina when after Zane Gonzalez, our former kicker, got hurt in pregame and couldn't kick, and then they had like 5 guys audition, basically?
On the field?
Yeah. Did you see the clips of it? Dreadful. I mean, it looked like they took 5 people out of the crowd and tried to kick. I mean, we're talking shanks, hooks straight to the left in the ground, nothing approaching anything looking like a field goal kick.
Basically summarizes the Carolina Panthers.
Boy, have they fallen fast this season. All right, so by the way, to do that, all you have to do is text Browns to 55678. That's Browns to 55678 to enter. Rules and regulations apply. When we come back, higher or lower, a.k.a. better or worse, presented by the Ohio Lottery. Football isn't football without friends. Hey, watching the Browns alone mean no one is going to hear your amazing in-game analysis. The same is true with gambling. Keep things social. Never gamble alone. This is one of the helpful, responsible gambling tips you'll find at keepitfunohio.com. And I got to tell you something. I felt like I was watching this last game alone, Gibbe. Our talkback wasn't working. It was very sad. I miss our repartee.
Little peek.
Demerit.
Yep, that's a demerit.
Mark it.
Yeah, little peek behind the curtain. Someone fired up something wireless on the field and screwed us up.
I know.
Royally.
And so we
and
couldn't
we were
even
not the only ones.
We couldn't speak to each other, which was super sad because I like talking to you during the games.
I know. I thought we recovered nicely because literally you weren't on in the first quarter.
No, it was sad. Man,
Got you back into the fold.
That's right. By the way, oh, Gibbe, I love this.
What?
Oh man. Somebody wanted to let you know, Gibbe, that it was actually Japan that bombed Pearl Harbor.
I'm aware, and if you don't understand the joke,
if you know, you know. If you know, you know.
Then you should probably go back and.
People could be young though. Like at a certain age, you may have missed that film. Animal House, check it out. It's pretty good.
Animal House.
Pretty good.
For
Classic.
all the kids out there.
Classic for you.
Or for the people that somehow
the kids.
slept through the 70s and 80s. Animal House. Yeah.
Somebody else.
I know who bombed Pearl Harbor, just so we're clear.
Somebody else didn't like that I said scoring the football. They're good at scoring the football. What else you score? Score the basketball in basketball? Or you just score? I get it. That's what they told Ostriker. You don't score till you score. Till you score. All right. Higher or lower?
A little higher or lower, kids.
Better or worse?
Paulus. I'm
presented by the Ohio Lottery.
Nick
Here
Paulus.
we go, guys.
Oh, God.
Man, hot.
Slod.
Hot tamale.
Hot tamale. All right, guys. NFL.com, Dan Hansis. We are brought to you by our great friends at the Ohio Lottery. Make sure you check out their website, keepitfunohio.com. All right. NFL Network, these just released within the last couple hours. Number 1, as we mentioned, the Green Bay Packers. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs, 10-4 on the foosball season. It'll be interesting. Kelsey, is Hill in COVID protocol now too?
Kelsey, yes.
Yeah,
and
they're in some
both.
trouble.
Yeah, and they play the Steelers.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
Not great.
Not great.
No.
Of course they do this week. Got to have a little luck sometimes in the league. We just don't seem to have much of it right now.
No.
That takes us to number 3. But before that, first and foremost, your AFC North teams and where they rank. The Bengals, 12th. The Ratbirds, 16th. Us, 17th. The Pukers are 18th. Zegura, would you agree or disagree with those numbers?
I think that's fair. I think that the Bengals right now they're in a good spot. They're the complete team. Now, we seem to just have their number, which could pay dividends if we can make it to where Week 18 here at First Energy Stadium is a meaningful football game for us. But, I think this division is right in the middle of the league. We've got to beat the Raiders. We beat the Raiders, we have an opportunity to be higher. The Ravens are up and down. The Steelers, everybody in our division's got, 8-6, 8-6, 7-7, 7-6-1. We're right in the middle. We're middle of the pack team division right now. Everybody's dangerous, but everybody has some bad losses on their docket, and the final few weeks are going to sort it out because you got a lot of division games and then a lot of games against good teams. Green Bay, Kansas City, Rams show up on our division schedule the rest of the way here, and then each other. So it's all going to sort itself out. Would have been sitting at 8-6, boy, would have been real nice.
Nick, hit it.
Higher or lower?
Packers 1, Chiefs 2. Number 3, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 10-4. Higher, lower, or just right? Zegura.
They're beaten up. They've lost Godwin. Evans is banged up. Fournette's banged up. Right now, the Rams would be favored over them, I think, on a neutral field today. And by the way, when they played earlier this season, they did beat them. Now, the Rams have had some ups and some downs as well, and have looked bad at times. But I'm going to go with the Rams being better than the Bucs. So thus, they are worse or lower, even though their number is higher.
Paulus, what say you?
I also think that they should be lower. Right now, I mean, losing Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, I mean, that is a hellacious loss. And not only to mention Leonard Fournette as well.
I think they're bringing in Le'Veon Bell. Did I read that correctly?
I mean, you're looking at Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and Tom Brady. So that's probably not a good look if you're a Steelers fan. But I just have a real bad feeling about this team. I think the Rams are a better team than they are, so they should be lower as well.
Next.
Higher or lower?
Number 4, the LA Rams. Number 5, the Arizona Cardinals, takes us to number 6. And one of the fastest rising teams in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts, 8-6. Nick, higher, lower, or just right?
I think just right. I believe that this Colts team is right up near the top of the AFC. Jonathan Taylor's my MVP, so I'm going to say just right, right around 6.
Zegura.
I'm going to say they're better. I'd take them over the Cardinals right now. I mean, I saw the way the Lions ran the ball on the Cardinals. Well, the Colts can run it on anybody. Just ask the New England Patriots. Jonathan Taylor he's a legitimate MVP candidate as a running back. He's what Derrick Henry was to the Titans. He is to this Colts team. Carson Wentz still makes me nervous and will throw just a hellacious interception. But this Arizona offense seems to be sputtering, and their defense is not necessarily great. I mean, they got slumped by the Lions, so they've got to come down a little bit. The Colts are scary. They've got a very, very good defense. They have a very good offensive line. They run the football very effectively. Wentz can still make some big plays to Michael Pittman, T.Y. Hilton at times, but that's a darn good team, and you can't overlook them.
Can we stop with the Jonathan Taylor MVP talk?
Why?
Whoa!
I don't think we can.
Because
he's not a quarterback.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that that's what it has to be, though. I mean,
no,
he's
correct.
Put that team
but
on his back.
I mean, let's be honest. I agree that he is an MVP candidate, but he's not going to win. And he's not going to be the MVP. He could be the offensive player of the year. That's their, hey, we're giving this award
he
to
could win the
MVP.
I think he could win.
I don't think so.
I think he can.
You think who's he beating out for MVP? Is he beating out Rodgers?
If we handle them and some other teams, and this Colts team just goes and keeps on winning, and he's running for 150 yards, 200 yards every game like he's doing, maybe. I think he deserves to be in the conversation. We just said he's a candidate. We didn't say he's the front runner.
I just think
he's a candidate.
Like the most valuable player every year is a quarterback, for better or for worse. I'm not agreeing with that. But
sure, but he's a candidate.
Everybody's like, well, he's an MVP candidate. No, he's not.
So
he's not a candidate. He's not going to win it. How can you be a candidate if you're not going to win it?
The last 3 games of the year, Gibbs, the Colts play the Cardinals, which is this Saturday.
Saturday night.
The Raiders and the Jaguars. You're telling me he can't rip off 150 yards in each of those games? He's been doing it for the last 8-9 weeks. It's possible.
So you're saying just because he plays running back, you believe he has the same chance of winning the NFL MVP as you do?
Yes.
It's hard to argue with it from a historic standpoint, but I do think he is a candidate that deserves to have his name in that sentence that Jonathan Taylor is an MVP candidate. That's how good he's been.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from the kid.
Fair enough.
Because without him, I don't know where Indianapolis would be, but I have as good a chance at winning the MVP as he does.
He gets a slightly better chance.
Maybe he has a little bit better chance.
Tiny bit.
He is in the NFL after all, which
next
is a
before I get myself in any more
or lower.
Number 7 are the Patriots, 9-5. Big tumble for them after last week's loss to the Colts. Takes us to number 8, the Dallas Cowboys, 10-4 on the football season. Zegura, higher, lower, or just right?
I don't know what to make of this team. I mean, it was supposed to be this offense with Dak and Zeke and Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Gallup and Dalton Schultz throwing the ball over the yard, putting points up everywhere in the D. Could they hold it together? Yeah, they had some good pieces, but that wasn't their strength. And all of a sudden, they're winning because of their D. Micah Parsons is incredible. Diggs on the back end is playing some of the best corner in the league. I don't know what to make of them, but they're dangerous. They're 10-4. I don't know that I want to play them in a big game, but they can also get slumped, it feels like, by anybody. It's
they
just
got slumped by the Raiders.
And they got slumped by the Broncos. Beaten. I don't know what to make of that.
Destroyed.
I don't know what to make of that team. I think it's probably just right. I like the Bills a lot too. I still think the Bills are better than what they've shown this season. But once you get out of this top four, Rams, Bucks, Chiefs, and Packers, I'm going to say something you'll say, but wait a second, that I feel like, those teams are pretty darn good week in and week out. Now, the Bucks just lost 9-0 to the Saints, and the Packers' ugliest loss all year was also to the Saints in week 1 in Jacksonville, wherever it was played?
Yeah.
Those teams, I feel like there's a delineation between those four and then everybody else. Once you get into 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, anybody can beat anybody. And I still even think that's probably true of the top four, but those four I would feel much better about than everybody else.
As the elite.
Yes.
If there is such a thing in this year's NFL.
Yes.
Paulus.
I think 7 through 12 is sort of like a crapshoot. I think that any of those teams can beat any of the teams on any given Sunday. For some reason, I think that Dallas is just a little bit worse, so they should be lower than the Bills. I think I have more faith in Josh Allen to put together a game than Dak Prescott right now. So I'm going to go with Sean McDermott and Josh Allen over Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy.
Next.
Higher or lower?
All right, we got time for one final one because we got a break to get to Coach here at the top of the hour. Tennessee, 9-5, ranked 14th. Now, in between Dallas and them, Buffalo at 9, the Chargers at 10, the 49ers at 11, the Bengals at 12, the Dolphins at 13. Zegura, higher, lower, or just right for the Tennessee Titans at 9-5?
They are worse than that. They are a sinking ship now. They're a lead balloon. Can they get Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown back to put some turbo boosters and lift this back up? Yeah, maybe. But right now there is no way on a neutral field that I think that they beat the Minnesota Vikings, who are right below them. None. Zero. And there are plenty of other teams, too, that are scary that I think could beat them below them as well. So I would say they are worse than that right now. 13-3 against the Steelers team that's fairly anemic, and they just couldn't get it done. Ryan Tannehill can't carry an offense. He's a good quarterback, and that's the thing. That's the delineation, right, between the true franchise quarterbacks and those that aren't. Ryan Tannehill can't do it on his own. He can do it when there are good environments around him, and that's why he's a guy that, yes, you can win with. You can go far with him, as they have, but can you go all the way? Can you get those games that you need to get? I'm not so sure you can.
Nick, real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to go with one of Beau's lines. They're gutless. That's exactly what the Tennessee Titans are. Losing that game to the Steelers just proved that they really don't have what it takes. I know that they lost Derrick Henry. If they get Derrick Henry back in the playoffs, maybe that changes everything, but right now they're gutless, so they should be lower.
That's it for this week's edition of Higher or Lower.
Presented by the Ohio Lottery, or as I like to say, better or worse. Rumpke Waste and Recycling is a family-owned and operated company. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become a part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski, first time back in the building addressing the media. That's coming your way live at the top of this hour here, 2 o'clock. For a team of injury lawyers dedicated to every client every day, call 1-800-ELK Ohio. Elk and Elk, proud partner of the Cleveland Browns, and we go to the podium now for Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski.
You're down.
Packers, we're bringing the guys in the afternoon. They're wrapping up virtual meetings as we speak. They were in here getting a lift earlier, and then we'll be out on the field starting our preparations for Green Bay. We're on a short week, so we really have to go full speed ahead. Thought the guys were engaged in the meetings today. Obviously, a huge challenge going to Lambeau versus a really good football team. They're well coached. They have great players, so we got to be about our business. They present challenges on offense, defense, and special teams. Obviously, offensively, with Aaron Rodgers, he's playing great. He is great. So we're gonna have to really hone in on ways to slow him down, and with their pass attack and run attack, it's balanced. Defensively, Joe Barry does a great job with that defense. They have some really good edge rushers. They're multiple in the back end. Jerry Gray's their defensive backs coach, who I know well from our Vikings days together, and you can see they're doing a nice job in the back end with disguise, playing multiple coverages, just doing a really nice job in coverage. And then they pressure the quarterback. They do a really nice job. They will blitz, but oftentimes they're bringing four and they're applying pressure. So we got to be really locked in this week. Like I said, on this short week, we got to make sure that we make today count, make tomorrow count, and then we'll get on the plane and head to Green Bay. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much, Coach. We'll start with Jake Trotter.
Yeah, hey, Kevin, clarification from yesterday. You were talking about the 10-day window in terms of guys when they are put on the COVID list and then when they're eligible to come back. So, just to clarify, I believe Baker went on that on the 15th of December. You said he'd be good to go for the game. So is it fair to assume that everybody who went on the 15th or earlier, of which you have a bunch of guys still on the COVID list, that you would anticipate them being able to play in Green Bay?
It's my understanding, Jake, that yes, at the 10-day they're available, but with each player, we'll obviously have dialogue with them, with the medical staff, make sure that we treat each guy differently, like we always do with any injury, really. But those guys, yes, they'd be available to play.
So in other words, if they weren't exhibiting symptoms at that point and you felt comfortable, at least eligible-wise, they'd be ready to go.
That's right.
Okay, thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Jake. Tom Withers is next.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, Kevin, first of all, how relieved are you to be out of the protocols and kind of be back functioning somewhat at normal pace?
Yeah, good to be back. Obviously working remotely is something that we all did a bunch of last year. So it's definitely doable to work remotely and game plan remotely, run meetings, et cetera. But good to be back in person.
And just to clean up a little news from earlier today, J.C. Tretter said that there were discussions last week about the games being canceled. I know that didn't happen, but were you aware of that, Kevin? And was that something that was potentially on the table?
I was doing my job, Tom. JC has those conversations with all those important people. I'm focused on trying to help these guys, but no, that wasn't really in my wheelhouse.
I could sneak in one more. Myles Garrett, what's the latest?
Yeah, we'll see. He's, we're walking through today, so not doing much from a physical standpoint, but I'll get my eyes on him today and we'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Tom. Daryl Ryder, you're up.
Yeah, Kevin, specifically with Baker and some of these other guys that could potentially become eligible to play on Saturday, what are you having them do behind the scenes? Obviously, they can't be in the facility, they can't practice, those type of things. But do you or the staff have them doing some things on their own to prepare themselves from a physical standpoint to be able to play?
Yeah, I think there's limits, Daryl, to what they can be doing when you're in this protocol. So we're really focused on making sure that they're locked in from a game plan standpoint, and then whatever they're capable of doing on their own, that's really up to them.
And then just, you talked about the challenges that the Packers present, especially offensively right now as it stands. It's looking like you're going to be limited defensively. You have some questions up front that you have to answer before Saturday. Just what type of a challenge does that present to you, as well as Joe Woods, as you're trying to put this game plan together when you're not sure who you're going to have, and you're also not sure those that you might have, just how much you're going to be able to get out of them?
Yeah, I think the challenge, Daryl, is facing a really good Packers team. I mean, they have star players. They're very well coached. So we have our work cut out for us. Who's available to us? All those type of things. We'll just deal with it day by day.
Thanks, Daryl. Tony Grossi, go ahead.
All right, not to belabor that point about game day eligibility, but I'm still confused because I thought there was the 4 p.m. deadline the day before. Would this be a special COVID exemption for those players to fly out on the day of the game?
Yeah, I don't know the specifics, Tony, honestly, to expand on it, but it's my understanding that on day 10, if they get cleared through the medical staff, that they would be available.
Even though that day 10 is the day of the game?
As far as I understand.
Okay. Just one other thing. Have you ever seen a receiver triple team before, like Devontae Adams was?
Can't say I have. You've seen teams over the years. I can think of teams when they used to face Antonio Gates. They'd vice him at the line of scrimmage, take a linebacker and maybe a defensive end and vice him. But he got quite a lot of attention. And listen, he's a great player. I mean, he's just a really, really good player. Those two together have a great rapport in the pass game. So you have to have a plan for him.
Good, thanks.
Thank you, Tony. Mary Kay Cabot will have our next one.
Yeah, just to follow up real quick on Miles. Since you were waiting for results of tests yesterday, did you get some good news on the MRI or whatever he did?
Yeah, I think, Mary Kay, we're just going to have to work through it. He has an injury there. We'll see if it prevents him from playing. We'll see if it prevents him from practicing. I think we're not there yet. We just got to see how he does today and the next day.
And then as far as Greg going on the COVID list today, I'm sure that was a little bit of a disappointment for you, but also maybe can you comment on how well Greedy has played in his absence?
Yeah, it's disappointing when we don't have our guys for any reason. You don't want anybody to get injured. You don't want anybody to get sick. So certainly not looking for anybody to go on that list. But yeah, Greedy stepped up and he's done that throughout the season when called upon. And we'll continue to call upon him this week as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Kay. Scott Petrick, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, what was the reasoning behind the decision to cut Jamie and go with Dustin the rest of the year?
Yeah, I think, Dustin did a nice job. I'm disappointed for Jamie. I spoke to Jamie, but that's part of this business, so he understands that.
And on Aaron Rodgers, 30 touchdowns and 4 picks. I'm curious, when you watch him, what are you most impressed by, and what's toughest to plan to defend?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player. I don't think you guys need me to tell you that. I've seen him up close many times when I was with the Vikings. He's supremely talented, processes information really well. Alex Van Pelt was with him in Green Bay, so Alex has good knowledge about the things that he does well, and there's a lot of them. But he's a special talent.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. We'll go to Dan Lobby.
Hey, Kevin. I want to go back to JC and just kind of ask you, last week he's kind of wearing those multiple hats. He's got to play center for you guys, but then he's also dealing with probably what had to be one of the most stressful weeks as the NFLPA president. How did you kind of see him juggle all that?
Yeah, he does juggle that. He understands how important that role is and how important his role is for us. Having the extra days to prepare from a mental standpoint, I think we're probably helpful for all the guys up front. When you don't have a full, going into it, you didn't have a full schedule, if you will, of practice and meeting time. So I think we tried to maximize those extra days in terms of getting a great understanding of what we're doing.
And then I'm just kind of curious, obviously, all your time in Minnesota, you went to Lambeau Field a lot, but is there still something kind of special about going and playing a game there, especially one on Christmas?
Yeah, I think it's a great in our league. I'd encourage everybody, all the Browns fans, that is, to check it out. It's a special place, and I think certainly as visitors going in there, you get some extra juice playing in that venue in front of those fans. It's quite a place to play, especially we're the only game on TV, only show in town.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Ashley Bastock is next.
Hey, Kevin, another roster move question for you just to activate Austin today. I guess just how important is that to get another tight end back, given how much you guys use them in this system?
Yeah, it'll be great to get Hoop back out here. He's stayed engaged throughout this whole process for him. But as you know, we'll use him. Looking forward to getting him back out there.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ashley. Marla Ridenour, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, when we talked to Malik Jackson, he was talking about, the other defensive ends like Porter Gustin, I just wondered what you saw out of those guys who were called, for a big role and, how you feel about how they played.
Yeah, I think a lot of those guys, Marla, have played for us at moments this season. Think of Porter going back to last year, making some big plays for us. And then go through this season. Afadi's made some plays, and Joe. So they've done a nice job. And if their number's called, they gotta respond.
And did you reach out to Greg Newsome? I'm sure he was really bummed, especially after being out with a concussion and now this.
Yeah, I've talked to our guys. It's unfortunate, Marla. Again, first and foremost, number one thing for us is our players' health and safety. So it's unfortunate that he's dealing with this, especially coming off of, a freak thing with a concussion.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marla. We'll go to Nate Ulrich.
Hey, Kevin, is Greg still in concussion protocol too?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And, obviously you addressed the punter decision earlier. Are you still working through a kicker decision? You do have one on the practice squad, as we know, or are you going to go into Green Bay with Chase McLaughlin still having the job?
Yeah, Chase is our kicker, and I told you guys the other day, he has high expectations for himself. We expect him when he's out there to make his kicks, and we're counting on him, and I think he knows that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nate. Back to Tony Grossi.
Okay, I've tried to do the math on Jedrick Wills, and he appears his 10-day window will occur before the game, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
So does that enable you to practice your right tackle, the guy you want at right tackle, even though Wills isn't available for practice yet?
Yeah, Tony, I would tell you all of it is fluid because we got to make decisions based on each player and how they were feeling throughout this, how they're feeling now, what kind of physical shape they're in. So we'll just make decisions as we go. And then part of that, the reason for that, Tony, and how fluid it is, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in terms of guys maybe testing out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Scott Petrick, go to you.
Hey, Kevin, I had a couple injury or COVID questions. Kareem Hunt and Troy Hill were injured and listed this week.
I don't expect either of them to make it this week due to injury. Yes.
Okay. And then you mentioned Green Bay being balanced. What makes that running attack so good? I know everybody's worried about Rodgers, but then they seem to run it up the middle a bunch.
Yeah, they just have a really good scheme. I think they do a nice job pairing the run and the pass. Coach LaFleur and his experience, you see the wide zone, you see some of the movement stuff they do. And then with Aaron Rodgers and his experience with the RPOs that he's mastered over the course of his career, I think they have a good blend of those attacks.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Coach, looks like that's all we have for questions. Appreciate the time today.
Okay, thanks.
You're up.
All right, that's Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski back in the building with some updates there. And again, very fluid situation with the Browns. Guys should be coming off of the COVID-19 reserve list as this week progresses, but some may be going on to it, as we saw today with Greg Newsome. And you heard Kevin Stefanski disappointed that they will not have their talented young cornerback from Northwestern, the Browns' first-round pick. So this is a wild time. I mean, it is a wild week. Anything that you do, can be outdated an hour after you do it. I mean, last week we did shows, and then they practiced in the afternoon, tested after the afternoon on Thursday, and then by 5 o'clock it was complete chaos, and a lot of people were added to that COVID list. So for the Browns, it is fluid. The fact of the matter is they have got to prepare, they have got to get ready, and they've got to get the job done in a very difficult environment, Lambeau Field, where the Packers have not lost this season. They've lost once since the start of the 2020 season. They've won 11 in a row at Lambeau Field, but none of that matters. That means they're due for a loss. Am I wrong? They're due They're due to lose one at home. Why not us? We need to find a way to answer that question emphatically, that it is going to be us to defeat this Packer team come Saturday, because the season, frankly, is at stake. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, J.C. Tretter, the Brown Center and the NFLPA president, on what was a wild week in the National Football League. Do you love the Browns? Gain exclusive team access with the NFL Extra Points credit card for special ticket financing, 20% off at NFLshop.com, and rewards like player meets and greets and signed memorabilia. Apply today at NFLExtraPoints.com and get started with 10,000 bonus points after qualifying purchases, enough to redeem for a $100 statement credit. To learn more, visit NFLExtraPoints.com. Offer subject to credit approval. See application terms and conditions for complete details. All right, this is a portion of what was a marathon session with Brown Center and NFLPA President J.C. Tretter with the media earlier today. Here are the highlights of that session.
10 minutes, 20 seconds, you're down.
Changes that you guys made in agreement with the league are going to help in trying to mitigate this new rash of cases across the league?
Yeah, it's been a busy last 7 days, really. And you have to balance a lot of different things. You have to figure out kind of the best path forward. You have to figure out how we get out of, the mess we were in last week across the league. You got to listen to the membership. You have to understand where the NFL stands on the issues, and you have to try to find the the best landing spot for how to accomplish all the things you want to accomplish. So I think what's clear, if we just start from the beginning, is, our position since July was that daily testing was the best option. And we've been pretty adamant about that. And I think if you look at what we did last year and the amount of positives we had last year versus this year, I think it's tough to deny that daily testing wasn't a huge component of our success last year. The NFL's never been a supporter of daily testing. They weren't a supporter of daily testing last year. We had to force their hand to get daily testing last year. Fast forward now of multiple months into the season, we have the issue we were facing last week, and we spent a lot of time trying to figure out where everybody stands on the issues. Our membership felt like the vast majority of them have done everything that's been asked of them. They've gotten vaccinated. They feel like they didn't want more testing. They didn't want more stringent protocols. The majority of our membership wanted to begin living in this pandemic as a new variant has come out that's more mild, though more contagious. That was the position of the majority of our membership. However, we still had a minority of our membership that don't just want to walk into buildings without any checks or balances of what's going on inside. So it's obviously not an easy, balancing act to figure out how to go forward through. So knowing that, we tried to come up with the best path forward to provide options to everybody. We obviously had the opt-out, and then we obviously, provided ways for people to make their choices of how they wanted to live moving forward. Unless you're in a current outbreak, there are no heavy restrictions on the protocols, but we've provided, obviously, anybody can wear a mask in the facility. Anybody can accept virtual meetings. Those are optional for any player to make an individual decision. If they want to begin spending less time at the facilities for the rest of the season, you have that choice. You have the option to test every day. You have the option for take-home tests for your families. Our goal in the end was providing all groups of players their options for how they wanted to move forward the rest of the season.
In terms of, you're seeing across the NHL is shutting down. The NBA has postponed more games tonight. Are you confident you guys can avoid that? And did you think, I know you guys didn't get much help from it, JC, in terms of guys coming back asymptomatic or testing out over the weekend, but are you confident there won't be any more postponements this season?
I don't know about that. Like you said, it's been a trying week or 2 weeks for everybody. This is a new variant. This is, when COVID first happened, we had 6 months to kind of figure it out and figure out a path forward. And in this instance, we had about 6 days to figure it out. So it's not an easy answer to make. Last week, to go to your question, the issue wasn't about how many guys we got back. Our position as a union is that we fight for wages, benefits, and working conditions. And we don't worry about competitive balance. We don't worry about standings. We don't worry about roster composition. We worry about those 3 things. So the NFL's position last week was that those 3 games were going to be canceled. They weren't going to be played. And if they weren't played, then nobody on either team was going to be paid. That's obviously an issue for us as a union when, over 18% of our player population was at risk of not getting paid last week. Right. So our position was that we needed to make sure all games are played in order for our guys to get paid. And that was our position. We took a vote with the executive committee of the union, which voted unanimously that our position needed to be that games need to be rescheduled and not canceled. And we pushed the league for that resolution.
Yeah, JC, without revealing any confidential information, understanding the sensitivity of this, as a member of a team, though, that had an outbreak last week and was directly affected by this, are you satisfied with the way everything was handled? And, from your perspective, is there any way to mitigate the outbreak, if you will? So many, 25 plus people tested positive within the organization.
Yeah, I think that's the proof that weekly testing was never a successful model, especially now with this new variant. Weekly testing allows, like we've been talking about for months now, allows the virus to spread all throughout the week. And then you get to Monday and it lets you know, hey, you've got a huge problem on your hands. You have to bail yourself out of it. So it was never a model that was going to succeed, especially now that we have a more contagious variant out there. So when it comes to, are we happy? It's what we were, what our rules were at the time, and then figuring out how to get past it. So there's no good options. It's, last week was a lot of figuring out the two issues. Like I said, one, how do we get through this week? How do we figure out this season? As you guys saw, we went back to the intensive protocols temporarily. That was the decision we made because we had 3 teams that games were very much in risk or trending to being canceled. And we still had other teams testing positive, putting more games in doubt. We knew it wasn't popular amongst the players to roll back the protocols, but we knew we needed to buy ourselves time in order to get ahead of it and avoid any other problems that last week before we could come to a better solution moving forward. So, as we've seen in other sports leagues, there's no, perfect answer. There's no, this is still an evolving situation. So, in the end, I think we've done all we can do to, figure out last week and then move forward.
Are there going to be further adjustments to the protocols, or is this how the players in the NFL have agreed to operate the rest of the way? Are you anticipating that you're going to have to get your heads back together and modify further?
I don't think you can ever say you're not going to do that. I mean, this is something, as we've seen for 2 years now. I think you always leave the options to make changes if you need to do it. But as of now, this is how we're moving forward.
Obviously, you're a proponent of the daily testing. So the fact that now it's targeted testing, I'm assuming you don't feel as safe like being around the team as you would have even when there was weekly testing?
Yeah, I mean, it's I've been boosted. I'm vaccinated. I will be wearing a mask around the facility. I will be choosing to meet virtually. I think, this week we'll continue meeting virtually anyways, but I'll be taking my meetings virtually. That's just something I'd like to do to feel more comfortable. I know there's a lot of guys around the league that will make that choice as well. And that was really our goal, was providing guys choices on how to get through the rest of the season. I've said it before, our membership is a microcosm of the country. We have people that are ready to move forward, that have done everything that's been asked of them, have gotten vaccinated, made those decisions, and now they want to start feeling like, I know what, I'm not at risk of serious illness because of my vaccine status. I've done what they've said, and now I'm ready to go back to somewhat normalcy. And then we still have guys who don't want to get COVID and still want to live a more cautious lifestyle. And now everybody has those choices.
Hey, JC, I'm kind of just wondering, what was last week like for you, I guess personally, as you're getting ready to play a football game? You're dealing with all this stuff, I know you've been doing this for a couple of years now, but what is that week like for you with some of the uncertainty you're dealing with, and also your job as an NFL center and also NFLPA president?
Yeah, I'm glad I don't pay my cell phone bill by the minute anymore, or else I would be in trouble financially. But it was a busy week. It was tiring, and I think it's this has been exhausting on everybody, and it's been difficult on everybody. We had to make very difficult decisions last week with not a lot of time to make them. I give a ton of credit to our staff and our other player leaders who had to be involved in these discussions and try to make the best decisions moving forward. But it was definitely a very, very long week, probably the longest week of my tenure in that position.
And then there was obviously, when the game gets moved, certainly, some Raiders players were not happy, and there were some people who took some shots as far as you being on the Browns and also being the NFLPA president. I guess, how do you kind of respond to that? Do you have conversations with anyone from the Raiders or anything like that?
Yeah, I reached out to a couple guys on the Raiders. I think the thing that people didn't understand was I was fighting for the same thing for the Browns players as I was for the Raiders players, and that's to get paid. That's my job as president. I was elected by the players to represent all players. And I don't think everybody was fully aware of just how close those games were to being canceled. And I don't think everybody was fully aware that if canceled, they weren't going to get paid. Both teams weren't going to get paid. I think that was news to some people.
Back in 20.
Once they understood that fact, I think guys started to realize what exactly we as a union were fighting for. And again, I don't make decisions by myself. We had the executive committee, like I said, voted unanimously to make that same decision, which we went to the league to fight for. So we had everybody kind of give their opinion on what we needed to do moving forward, and we executed those goals.
You're up.
All right, that's Browns center and NFLPA president J.C. Tretter, the bomb right there. That these games were close to being canceled, Gibbe, which would have been I don't even know what to make of that. The players would not have been paid, and that's what he said as the president he was fighting for, to get these games in so that they would be paid for those games.
Good news. They weren't canceled. We played them, but
bad news, we
you
lost.
wonder how quick or how close that came to actually happening.
You made it sound like
and by the way,
pretty close.
There's still 3 weeks left in the season. The Jets just put 15 guys on the COVID list. Conversation's probably not over yet.
No, and who do the Jets play this week?
Probably someone in our division.
They are one of the teams eliminated from the postseason. There's not anybody in our division. But they are one of the teams that's been eliminated from the postseason at this point. They are playing the Jags.
That's a number one pick battle.
That's a heck of a game there. Jags, Jets. Get your popcorn ready. Well, get it ready, because when we come back here on Cleveland Browns Daily, we are joined by Browns legend Bernie Kosar. It's very exciting to have Bernie with us. That's coming up next, bottom of this hour here on Cleveland Browns Daily. Browns fans can win big with the digital scratch-off game brought to you by the Ohio Lottery on clevelandbrowns.com and Browns social channels. Fans can play once per day throughout the season by digitally scratching off a virtual card for chances to win great prizes like Team Shop gift cards and tickets to future games. For more information, log on to promotions.clevelandbrowns.com. We go now to the hotline, and we welcome in Browns legend Bernie Kosar. And Bernie, let's start with the most important question of the day. How are you doing? How are you feeling? We've all been thinking about you, buddy.
Well, thank you, Nathan. Feeling good. Survived another few surgeries, and proud and excited to finally be discharged for the Christmas weekend, and that got discharged right before the game the other day, and kind of the heart or spirit that we have in Northeast Ohio that I'd like to think I have from growing up here and some of the perseverance and stuff. Boy, the team under so much adversity showed so much heart and perseverance on Monday night to have an outcome that wasn't desirable like that, but to show that type of resilience and that type of toughness, being undermanned like that was refreshing to see the football team compete like that.
You're right, and look, that one hurt. It hurt. There was so much passion, so much adversity to be overcome. You could feel the energy at the stadium when Mullins led that incredible drive, 14 plays, 80 yards, 8 minutes a clock, 3 third-down conversions, a fourth-down conversion, and then Greedy gets the pick, and you felt like we're going to get that Hollywood ending here where we're playing our practice squad quarterback, and we're going to get it. Unfortunately, it was not to be, but let's talk about Mullins. I thought in the second half they kind of opened things up and let him throw the ball around. Pretty impressive, Bernie. What did you see from Mullins? And just give people context on exactly how difficult it was for him to do what he did, having one practice all year with the guys that he was throwing the football to.
Yeah, for the listeners out there, and to putting in the ability to go out there and just run the offense and to have it look like a professional organization is one thing, which he absolutely did. But on a Monday Night Football, in a clutch situation, really down 10-0, and even when you could have got the momentum of the field goal right before halftime, to not get that, and then for the first 2 drives of the third quarter to be basically end up in punts, and now you're getting towards the end of the third quarter and you haven't had a ton of success. You haven't made a mistake yet, but you haven't had a ton of success. And then for him to really come into his own and really lead the team down the field on the scoring drive, but the way he played in that fourth quarter to be able to be third down conversions, so 4th and 5, to get the 6-yard touchdown pass, to play under duress like that and under pressure. And again, I'm not trying to be a quarterback disciple nor a quarterback marketing rep, but the day appeared nice on Monday night. Breeze and throwing, and him only having one practice, and not really playing a game in hundreds of days. To have that type of accuracy, that type of timing, under pressure, hats off to him.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It was his ability to, even on the touchdown to Harrison Bryant, the first read was probably Chief. They doubled him. He comes off of multiple reads, has the poise to deliver the football. You think of the third down and 3 where he ends up hitting Donovan Peoples-Jones for 25 yards. That's probably his third progression through, but his just ability to go through his progressions and hang in there, it looked like a guy. Look, and he started 16 games before and been, successful at times in this league. But the Browns are pretty lucky to have him, and I think they got an unjust result, in terms of the fact of how well he played from his standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. The ability for him to play unlike a person who just had one practice, and it absolutely helped. And hats off to our scouting department and Andrew Berry and having that type of depth and that type of vision. any quarterback coming in at this type of time of the year is not going to fit perfectly into anyone's system. Yet to Nick Mullins, most of his NFL career and his experience has been with Kyle Shanahan in the San Francisco offense. And that is as close a system to what we're doing here in Cleveland. So again, very, very smart organizational vision to be able to have your third quarterback coming out of a system that, again, I'm a big fan of Kyle Shanahan and what they do systemically out there and with the 49ers, which is eerily similar to what we do here in Cleveland. So to be able to have that type of vision, to make that type of position in the season, to have that sitting there almost like an insurance policy, got bigger dividends. And if anybody probably deserved a W, and I'm the last person in professional football that believes in moral and feel-good type W's, but that is absolutely somebody who, and a group of kids the other day that deserved a better outcome.
He did, and so did this defense, Bernie, missing so many people at one point. You've got Rich LeCount and Javonte Moffitt, and Moffitt up from the practice squad. LeCount hasn't playing safety against this Raiders offense, and you hold them to 16 points. After that opening drive, they don't get into the end zone again, and they do a good job, generate 2 takeaways again. You get an interception, you get a sack strip fumble in this game, one that led directly to points. This D now, multiple takeaways in 4 straight games. They're playing so well, and you kind of look at the overall picture and you say to yourself, Bernie, how are we at 7-7 with some of the defensive performances we've turned in of late?
Yeah, it's from a defensive perspective. Let the glowing terms continue. Myles Garrett and his team leadership within the locker room, with his leadership the other day, the horrible prayers out to Takk McKinley and what happened with him with the Achilles pull and injury. But you could see Myles laboring with the groin during the game, and you see guys at this time of the year all laboring, and it's an easy game now to kind of look for an excuse to kind of maybe take plays off, to tap yourself out, and to see those guys in there not wanting to tap out, not wanting to leave, and then playing at a real high physical level. That turnover on Derek Carr, it's the holiday season, so a lot of mothers and kids are out there, but that's almost fortunate that he didn't snap his leg off, and I could see why Derek dropped the ball on a play like that when him and JOK almost sandwiched him like that. Those type of physical plays, that type of physical presence, you're so right. To be 7-7, it's disheartening right now, but again, there's nobody that wants to play us down the stretch, and that this team somehow, some way, gets into the dance, that type defense with the type of running game, with surviving this COVID surge and this injury surge this week, there's nobody that will want to play this type of physical presence in the middle of January.
No, and listen, it starts now, right? I mean, you talk about postseason or play us in January. We've got to start winning right now to get to January, and that is the task at Lambeau Field. And if you come off of a game like this one stung. I mean, it hurt. You could feel it. It was palpable, not only for the crowd, for the fans, for the city, the region, the world, but for those players in that locker room. And Mike Prefer said it. That's, these guys were hurting. How do you put that behind you and rally and focus? And it'd be hard enough in a normal week, but in a week where, your starting quarterback might not get cleared till Saturday, and yet you guys have to rally and get good work in and get ready to take on a very, very good Packers team.
Yeah. First and foremost, our leader and Coach Stefanski is back. Coach Prefer and the staff, hats off to how they handled the organizationally game management. A lot of questions, a few questions on that, but impeccable how the Cleveland Browns had a chance to get a W in that game Monday night. Hats off to how they conducted and handled themselves with that. But and I'm not, but to your question as to how do we kind of get off of that kind of emotional dagger that we got delivered by the outcome on Monday night, yes, this is easier said than done. And there is that emotional void, that almost that pit in your stomach that, yes, we want to pretend it's not there. We want to pretend we move forward. But the reality is it is still there. And this is when your leadership, I heard J.C. Treader talking before my segment coming on here. We're talking about Garrett in that leadership, talking about Coach Stefanski coming back. Coach Callahan's been in all these type of situations over the years. Coach Woods, your leadership, Coach Prefer from the other night. This is absolutely when nothing in this, I know it's Christmas week and it sounds so unspiritual, but this is when nothing in this world matters other than this game on Saturday. And if there's Jimmy Johnson again, somehow, some way, you pull this out, you are laying the groundwork now. You have 3 games right now, 3 games. And you win this game, which I really believe is winnable. Yes, the Packers are phenomenal, probably one of the elite teams in the league. That's why when you travel on the road, you go physical. And if they do have a vulnerability, it is that their run defense. And that is what we do best, and we run the ball. And if we could establish that physical presence, I've seen some interviews already about people already talking about this game as a celebration game in terms of Aaron Rodgers, who's phenomenal. But Aaron Rodgers is going to be passing. They already have assumed that Aaron Rodgers is going to be passing the great Brett Favre in terms of the touchdown record. So they've just assumed that they're going to throw 1 touchdown pass against us. Wow. Would that be an attitude I would have as a defensive player that week? That they're already assuming that that's going to happen, and they're going to stop the game and have a party at our expense. So those type of motivational tools, it isn't just rhetoric. That is stuff that, when you play the game as a little boy, that you have to get motivated about, that you get excited. I mean, heck, I'm excited talking about that. So from a player perspective, from a leadership perspective, those type of things to articulate right now and to just of anything now circle the wagons and think about my assignments, what I'm going to do. We like diversity in our life. We want to do open presents Saturday morning, but boy, for the 53 guys that are traveling, that are going to be dressing, the 47 dressing against the Packers on Saturday at 3:30, there's nothing else in the world that matters other than that game.
That's right. Go in there on Christmas and hopefully deliver a present to everybody that supports this organization on that Saturday with a win at Lambeau Field, handing the Packers their first loss at home this season. Bernie, so glad that you're doing well. So thankful for you for joining us, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and your family, buddy.
Merry Christmas, and love you guys. You matter. Go Browns.
Love you too. The great Bernie Kosar joining us there. And Browns fans, you can get into First Energy Stadium quicker on game day with Express Access. Enroll for free today to enter through exclusive lanes at each entrance. Plus, use Express Access for a chance to win a signed Myles Garrett jersey and other prizes at the end of the season. Click on the Tickets tab in the Browns mobile app to learn more. When we come back, so much more to come. Wrapping it up here on a First Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily on ESPN Cleveland. Be sure to catch the Browns preview show tonight at 7 on the University Hospital's Cleveland Browns radio network. Quarterback Nick Mullins and the voice of the Cleveland Browns, Jim Donovan, join Ken Carman and Gerard Cherry tonight on the Browns preview show. All right, our final show of the week will be tomorrow. We'll try to have some fun, spread a little Christmas cheer.
Is Bishop gonna join? We gotta do the scores. Like we missed.
We didn't even get the scores. And let me tell you something. I tracked them myself. I was hot.
You were on a heater?
Oh, 16-0, I'm told.
We got to do over-unders. We got scores.
16-0, I'm told.
Is someone going to show up tomorrow?
Is that a tease? I feel like you're teasing that.
I don't know. I mean, he's...
Come on, are these scores? Can we pay attention to them?
I don't think so. I don't know. I'm literally asking. Like, have you heard from him?
No. I don't have any
Since
scores.
he went on assignment.
No, he's on assignment. He's having the time of his life. Good for him.
I think Greedy Williams may join the program.
Greedy, good. He has the great interceptions, great scoreboard gesturing as well. All right, the next level is next. Thanks for listening to another edition of Cleveland Browns Daily on ESPN Cleveland.